Support for Arts Weekly is provided by PBS 39, the Our Foundation, Martin Tierney, and the Community Foundation of Greater Fort Wayne.
This is Arts Weekly. Arts Weekly is produced in cooperation with the College of Visual and Performing Arts at IPFW, offering degrees in fine arts, music, theater, and visual communication and design.
Welcome to Arts Weekly. I'm John O'Connell, Dean of the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. Thank you for joining us. In the second half of the show, we'll meet Fort Wayne featured artist Carrie Schaefer, a local sculptor. But first, I'm joined by Melissa Skinner and Floyd Lichty, who are here to tell us all about Burn Swiss Days, which runs July 24th through 26th. Floyd and Melissa, welcome to Arts Weekly. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
I'm very excited to hear all about Burn Swiss Days because I've only been in town for about 6 years, and twice I've made it to Burn Swiss Days because it's sort of a highlight for me. You guys have a lot of food and a lot of fun, and it's been around a long time, right?
Yes. Yes.
Melissa, what's your background with the Burn Swiss Days?
Well, actually, for numerous years, I attended Burn Swiss Days as a child. So now this year, because I'm the executive director for the Burn Chamber, I'm on the back side. I'm on the planning side, which it gets a little hectic this time of year. I can imagine. Yeah, a lot of hustling and bustling around, but great time. I'm really looking forward to it.
Is it an event that is run by the Chamber?
It's driven by the Chamber, but it takes a lot of volunteers, a lot of committees that come together and donate their time and to make it successful.
It's been successful a long time, hasn't it?
Yes, very much so.
Floyd, you've got a pretty long history, if I'm not mistaken, with Burn Swiss Days. Is that correct?
Right.
Well, what is your affiliation and your background with Burn Swiss Days?
Well, I've been with the Chamber off and on every year. I've been a Chamber member since 1971, I believe. And so actually Swiss Days started out as a sidewalk sale years ago, and then a guy by the name of Pastor Kurt Bedsworth felt that we needed to highlight our Swiss heritage, and so it kind of transformed into what it is today.
Let's go back and talk about that background a little bit in that history, if you will. Melissa, what is the history of the Burn Swiss Days, and maybe why did it come about? We know that a pastor was involved in it, but how long has it been around, actually, as a festival?
Sure. Well, we were actually talking about that, and it started as Dollar Days, and then in around 1972, it switched to sidewalk sales. There hence was Burn Swiss Days. And from there, it's just evolved. We have numerous events, starting with the opening ceremonies Thursday night at 6 o'clock, and it runs all the way through to Saturday evening through 10 o'clock at night. And we have all kinds of events such as polka music, Swiss musicians performing, we have concerts, we have our first ever brat eating contest this year. We also have a horse pull, a Swiss quilt show, lots of exciting fun events going on.
Well, I have to address your coat. Floyd, talk to us about the coat that you're wearing and the tribute you're making by wearing this coat.
Well, it's actually a Swiss coat that more for formal wear. And a week and a half ago, we were in Switzerland, and we saw bell ringers with this very coat on.
Wow. And so. Burn is why is it called Burn Swiss Days? What is the history behind the Swiss community in Burn?
Well, in 1852, that is when our Swiss settlers first came to Burn. And we were named Burn because I guess when the first settlers came out the front door, they weren't sure what to call the town. So they decided that they were going to call it the first name of the animal they saw when they came out the door, and they saw a black bear.
And they turned right around and
named
ran
it Burn.
back in.
Yeah, probably.
Where have we landed?
I would have. Exactly. So from there, that's where they started Burn, and then taking Burn and then adding Swiss because of our heritage, and then days. So Burn Swiss Days.
Wonderful.
So yeah.
But it has some history with regard to why they came here. Is that correct, Floyd?
Oh, absolutely, yes. An interesting item here is that Bern, Switzerland is spelled without an E, and Bern, Indiana is spelled with an E, which is more of a French pronunciation. But life wasn't real pretty for the Anabaptists in the 16th, 17th century. In fact, the persecution of the Anabaptists in the 16th century, we get the prize for being the most persecuted and killed in the 16th century, the Anabaptists. And so things were difficult. Life did ease up a little bit, and then in the 1800s, it was more a matter of we just couldn't exist financially. And so as far as the persecution, that had come to pretty much an end. But they saw the new world, and they decided to...
So does that mean that truly today Bern has a large Swiss population?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
It does.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
So this is really, it's about heritage.
Yeah.
It's
Very much
about
so.
community celebration, but it's also an homage to the history of the Swiss settling in Bern.
Yes.
Well, what are some of the big events that we should look forward to that are sort of favorites?
Sure. Well, we have a Stein toss as well.
Oh,
That's on Saturday.
Stein toss. What time is that Stein toss? I'll have to be for that.
Yeah, I think it's at 10 o'clock on Saturday. But I have a
That's
brochure.
early for a Stein toss.
Yeah, I have a
You can
brochure
enter.
for
You can
yeah,
enter. I
come
might
on.
have to.
Yeah, a horse pull that
Okay.
is known all around
Yeah.
for that event. I also mentioned the quilt show. Starts Friday morning and then ends, I think, at Saturday afternoon. We also have a Swiss concert, a new Swiss concert coming to Bern. So a variety of different things. So we're excited.
Floyd, what are your favorite events that happen at Swiss Days?
Well, I'd have to say Bern's Got Talent because I'm the MC for it.
Oh,
Yes.
well,
That's
tell
Friday
me all
night.
about it.
Friday night.
That's on Friday night,
Yeah.
and we have 10 entries, local people, and the community comes out, and we have 3 judges, which makes up about 40% of the voting, and then the other 60% is done by the people in the audience.
Right, like America's Got Talent. They'll be
Yeah.
cheering for the one that they want.
Yeah,
Is this a new event, or is this something you've done every year?
We did it last year. We have musicals sometimes, and then we have different events. For 2 years now, we've had Bern's Got Talent, and I've had the honor of hosting it the last 2 years.
Do you enjoy hosting it?
Yeah,
Yeah?
it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the other MC's a lot better actor or singer than I am.
doubt that.
I'm the
come on,
lightweight.
Floyd.
She's
oh,
the heavyweight.
Oh, okay, fine. So it's a double duty, yeah.
I do want to mention the boy that won last year. How old was he?
He's only in the 7th grade.
Yeah. Oh, my word.
He was a singer?
Yeah,
Oh.
he knocked it out of the park.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what kind of music did he sing, I might ask?
He conducts his own.
Yeah.
He writes his own?
He writes his own.
It's
He's
his own
phenomenal.
composition. It's his own
We
stuff.
kicked him out. He's a judge this year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can't have him
Yeah,
win after
you're
time
done.
after
Yeah.
time after time. He's got to
Yeah.
get on YouTube so somebody can discover him.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
actually, one contestant last year, and she's also in it this year, was on America's Got Talent. She does the voice box.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got some really
You
good
do,
talent
absolutely.
coming.
Right. How many people do you anticipate come from year to year, attend the festival?
I had heard around 4,000
Uh-huh.
total
Right.
estimated attendees. So, yeah, it draws a large
And
crowd.
is it a completely volunteer festival?
Yes. I mean, for the most part.
Mostly.
We
For the
have a
most part.
Swiss Days committee, but a lot of people donate their time, their efforts. It's all across the board. It's a great event. So.
And is it local vendors, or do you draw in people from all 3 states? Because, you know, the festival run for some artists and for some vendors, you know, is a summer-long job, if you will. So,
Yes. Actually, our one vendor I know that I talked to is coming from North Carolina. I think there's one that's even coming from Texas, I believe. So, yeah, they call all over. And we were still getting calls, even up until yesterday, people wanting to come. So,
Wow.
and we try to make it where there's just one of everything. That way it spreads it out, spreads
Right.
the wealth.
yeah, absolutely.
so, yeah.
And it happens downtown? Do you close off downtown and it's a street fair? Is that what it is?
Yes, it's on the main street, and then we have some that are on the side streets. Lots of food, lots of crafts, a little bit of everything.
Right.
So,
One of the favorites is the cheese stand, which is here at the Three Rivers Festival right now. He has been coming for years. and-
He's been coming to your festival after he finishes this festival. You're like a week later or
Yeah,
something,
he
right?
steps it up
Yes.
and comes from Fort Wayne to Bern.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
yeah. And actually, I know some friends that came to the festival here in Fort Wayne, and they said, "Oh, hey, you're coming to Bern next week."
Right.
And we're like, "Yep, we'll be there."
Right.
So
That's terrific.
neat. Yeah.
So let's give our viewers the details again. So the event runs what?
It starts at the opening ceremony is Thursday night,
All
6
right.
o'clock, downtown, main stage. And then it runs all the way through, starts again Saturday morning, or Friday and Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and then runs until 10 o'clock both nights.
And the talent event is when?
Friday night at 7.
Is it outside?
Oh, no, it's in our air-conditioned auditorium out at the high school.
Great. And is it
That's
free of
fabulous.
charge?
Oh, no,
Okay.
$5.
Okay, there we go.
Yes.
Well,
But you get a vote.
well, that's right. It's worth $5 if you
Yeah,
ask me.
Yeah.
Thank you both for joining me. It's been
Thank
a
you.
great pleasure meeting you, and I look forward to Burn Swiss Days
We hope to see
coming
you.
up. I'll be there.
All right.
Thank
I
you,
have to
John.
be at
Thank
the
you.
festival. I may have to be a talent judge one
All
day.
right, there you go.
Thank you, and thanks for bringing the coat.
Sure.
I like it.
Thank you.
Please take this minute to view our performance calendar of what's coming up in our area, and I'll be right back with sculptor Carrie Schaefer, a Fort Wayne featured artist. We'll be right back. American sculptor Carrie Schaefer is a classically trained stone carver whose breadth of work includes major architectural projects, private garden installations, and freestanding abstract sculpture. A native of Indiana, Carrie attended the Chicago Art Institute before completing 4 years of training with Italian master carver Vincent Palumbo at Washington's National Cathedral. Apprenticed in the historic tradition, Carrie learned stone carving's complex body of technical knowledge. Among the many ornamental stones, Carrie carved the final gargoyle on the cathedral. I am pleased to have Carrie Schaefer as this week's Fort Wayne featured artist. Carrie, welcome to Arts Weekly.
Thank you.
It's a great pleasure to meet you. Doing some research on your work, you are truly a classical sculptor. You have some twists on your sculptures that I have to say are whimsical and fun, but your craftsmanship is absolutely classical and beautiful. So
Thanks.
thank you for joining me, and I'm glad you're in Fort Wayne. Before we look at some of it, let's talk a little bit about your background as an artist. When did you start as an artist, and when did your passion begin?
Well, it happened late in life, and I think that was actually a blessing. I was 26 when I first started, and before that I would once in a while pick up a pencil and try to draw, and every once in a while I could do it, and then it would go away and I couldn't. And, I was doing normal white-collar jobs, and I was bored, and one day I had just come back from New York City to work for my father here, and I was really, really, really bored, and I went out in the backyard and picked up a little piece of limestone, and I sat down, put it between my bare feet, and picked up a hammer and a screwdriver, and just started dinking on it, and something snapped in my head. It just clicked, and I thought, wow, I think this is what I want to do. And quite arrogantly, I had seen a book in the bookstore in the mall with about Michelangelo, and on the cover was the David. And I thought, I can do that. I had never seen it before. I
In
had
my
never
dad's
been exposed.
backyard,
Right.
I will get some limestone.
Yes, I had never been exposed to the arts, obviously, and I was the guy that sort of made fun of the artists growing up.
Oh,
And
were you?
yeah, I was a bad guy. I was kind of a jock. And
Oh,
then
okay.
Once I got to the cathedral and my career started, and I realized there was almost a whole different person inside of me, I went back and apologized to all the people that I made fun of.
Wow.
I
Oh,
said,
that's-
I'm sorry, I'm one of you now.
I'm
So,
one of you, and you
yeah.
can make fun of me now.
Right, right.
Limestone, it's a good start. It's fairly soft, is that correct?
Yeah,
or-
it's really considered probably the best carving stone. It's certainly the best building stone because it's very consistent. And the stone in Indiana is the best building stone in the world. People always say, how do you equate it to marble? And well, marble has grains in it, and it oftentimes, a really good marble, the light looks like it's reflecting from inside of it. With limestone, it's much more of a blank canvas, and the light bounces off it. So I sort of look at when I'm carving limestone as opposed to marble, I'm doing a charcoal drawing. So I'm trying to get as many gradients of light and dark and bring it up as if I was doing a three-dimensional charcoal drawing. And that's much different than the marble, because the marble light is almost sometimes comes from within it.
Yeah, I was surprised to learn that southern Indiana has a fair amount of limestone available to artists in his mind in southern Indiana.
Yeah, there's enough limestone left in the United States, in southern Indiana, to rebuild every building that was ever built. Wow. And now it's becoming economically more viable to use it as a building material, so they're pulling it out of the ground and they're slicing it up and they're facing buildings with it, which is still better than nothing. Right. But the skilled jobs of knowing how to carve it and design in the stone is what's been lost.
So at 20-something, you all of a sudden discovered you had this passion. What was the next step? Because all of a sudden we're in Washington, D.C. at the National Cathedral.
Fast.
That doesn't happen for most artists fast. So
no. I
what was that leap?
Worked for my father for a year. I said, I'll give it a year. I had this discovery. I quit the... and said I, would like to be an artist, so I took a couple art classes, having never done it before, and then I went to the Art Institute, which I felt very lucky to get in. And I was going for a master's, and they said, well, come up here for the summer since you have had no undergraduate art classes, and you might want to catch up on some. So when I was there for the summer, very happy, I was dinking on a piece of stone outside, and I thought, well, winter's going to come soon, and I'd like to find a studio. So that day on the cover of the Reader, which is the Chicago Free Paper, there was an article about a guy who had just come back from the National Cathedral and stone carver. So I got hooked up with him, and he knew the master was looking for an apprentice. And one fluke led to another, and within 3 weeks I was at the cathedral.
Wow. Let's look at some of your images, if we can, and talk a little bit about what kind of work they take. Well, these are not any of their sculpture. These are for the bikes, IPFW Sculpture with Purpose. You did 2 bikes, correct?
Yeah,
and this is the first one, which I think is on Main Street, is it not?
Yes, it is. That's the unicycle. However, it was just recently hit by a car.
Oh, no.
Just like the one in front of the museum. So it's back in my studio, and we're awaiting insurance details so I can rebuild it.
So you can rebuild it.
A car hit a car that ran into it.
Wow. I guess they'll be moving that next time, won't they?
Probably, but that was really fun to do because that's limestone and steel.
Oh, terrific.
So,
yeah. And the second sculpture that we had, the second Sculpture with Purpose, was another bike rack.
Yeah, and this was called Curiosity, and it, the idea was to put a whimsical sort of bent on the idea of curiosity.
Right.
So, and I wanted to do a very simple and abstract almost line drawing, because the backdrop of the building allowed for it.
It's all steel?
It's all steel, yeah.
And it's not going to be hit by anything because it looks like it's pretty far in the
Let's hope not.
sidewalk.
It's again, if it does, we can rebuild them.
Yeah, I'm interested
unlike
in
a carving that,
I'm interested in the image we have. We have a double image of, I don't know if it's on a religious building or not. Can we have that image of might be the devil?
No, that's my satyr.
Yes.
Yes, the garden sculptures. Well, this is for a commission in Indianapolis, and I have clients in Indianapolis. I've been working on their place for many years. And they like the whimsical, they sort of create their own mythologies. And this is sort of their garden gods. And this was, the satyr is the, is one figure, and the female figure is sort of Eve, and she's sort of the, the Mother Earth.
It's a beautiful piece that's very traditional in its work. We have others of your work we'll just cycle through as we continue to talk. When did you move out of stone and into other mediums?
Just recently. I had been doing commission work almost primarily in limestone for almost 20 years, and as much as I love doing that, and a job might take 6 months or 2 years, it kept me in a universe that I was ready to try to do some other things. I really wanted to learn to weld, and so last year I learned to weld, and at that same time I was given the opportunity to do these bike racks. So I thought this is a great opportunity to take what I know about designing stone, and then also what I'm going to learn with the steel, and combine it, and I can do some of the abstract things that I've wanted to do, some of much more contemporary work, still using the the highest language of line and shadow and objects. But
you said that you wanted to look like a line drawing. Does that mean that your fundamentals of art, if you will, are improved since that time? And because you said you didn't really draw, sometimes you did, sometimes
Yeah,
you
you know,
didn't.
I had to teach myself once I got to the cathedral, and all of a sudden here I am, I'm carving architectural ornaments and angels and
Absolutely.
gargoyles. I put myself also through a kind of a boot camp of learning to draw, and I went to the museums every day to look at what made a good drawing, what made a good painting, what made a good sculpture. I needed to learn, because you can learn a technical aspect, but if you don't know why one thing is better than another, why one choice is, because after all we do is make choices.
Right, absolutely.
And I wanted to know what choices I could make, and that along with, I wanted to have as big a vocabulary as possible, and the cathedral allowed me to learn a big vocabulary.
I always tell my young artist students, I mean my actors and directors and whatnot, that you're making a mistake. You're not breaking the rules. You only get to break the rules when you know how the rules work. There's mistakes, and there's rule breaking that is done with some purpose.
Right.
Because you know how to make it work.
And I equate it, people go, you know, this thing about abstract. I said, you really can't abstract if you can't do it for real. It's like, you know, if you can't speak French and someone wants you to speak, you're just speaking gibberish.
Yes,
or what do you
absolutely.
say? So I always found it was very important, and that's why it's kind of exciting now to take what I know all about the classical and romantic and Baroque or, you know, language and really pare it down to the most basic elements and still have an impact. And it's almost harder to do a simple piece as it is a complicated piece, because you can throw all your, you know, tricks at it, and people go, wow, look at that. And, but a simple piece requires it really to be much more concise.
So would you say then you're really moving away from this traditional carving? Or
not necessarily.
sculpture?
I'm finishing up a project that's been almost 4 years in the making, and it's the second figure of these two figures. And it's become harder and harder to not only do that kind of work, because, you know, in the past I might be able to spend 6, 7, 8 months in a row working and then take some time off and do it again. My life is such where I'm not able to work like that, and also physically I can't work like that. If the right job came along or the right commission came along, I would certainly go back to doing that. But I'm kind of excited now about working on public work, which has a whole different set of filters to make decisions through, and continuing my line of much more abstract work, which is still basic shapes, but still telling a story that way.
Right. How can people get information about your work? Is there do you have a website or a contact that people can see more work? And
Yeah, my website is carrieschafer.com,
okay.
and there's a fairly easy site to manipulate through, just to see different kind of pictures. There's cathedral work, there's commission work, then there's some work on my abstract stuff and more recent things. But for so long, you know, I just kind of kept private because I was working on a commission and I didn't want anybody to see it, and it was going to go from the studio to the
home
client.
or to the garden or the
Right.
site.
So it's only recently that things are now, I'm much more open about the work that goes on.
I'm always surprised by how private artists are about their work, and how intimate it is for them, that it's difficult to put it out there. I come from the theater where we're just out there all the time, you know, so that surprises us.
Right. I have a relationship with this thing before anybody ever meets it, and then
Absolutely.
it's gone, and you know, it's ready for the next one.
Well, Carrie, thank you for joining me on Arts Weekly. I really appreciate you being a featured Fort Wayne artist for us today, and your work's terrific.
Thanks.
And I happen to be on the committee that chose the bike racks, and that whimsical one that got hit by a car was one of the first choices. So,
Well, thanks. Well,
thank
we will
you.
rebuild it.
Good. I don't want to. I want it to come back. Maybe
Okay.
not the same spot.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm John O'Connell, Dean of the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts. Tune in to the next Arts Weekly to hear about the Fort Wayne Civic Theater's production, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, from director Craig Humphrey and actress Renee Gonzalez. Then Sue Davis from the Orchard Gallery will be here to talk about their current and future art exhibits. We'd like to dedicate this program to Fort Wayne native and local favorite actor, Terry McCaffrey, who on July 3rd lost his brief yet heroic battle with cancer. Terry was fiercely Irish and approached everything with a keen and uproarious sense of humor. To put it quite simply, everyone who knew Terry loved Terry. Terry, a lifelong resident of Fort Wayne, was a champion for the arts in our community. He was an award-winning actor and was president of the Arena Dinner Theater Board of Directors. Audiences will remember his many performances at Arena Dinner Theater, including Prisoner of 2nd Avenue and The Last of the Red Hot Lovers, both of which won Terry Best Actor awards. Before he died, Terry was able to legally marry his longtime partner, Gregory Manifold, on June 26th, the culmination of a very, very long engagement, as the couple had been together for 31 years. Born to an Italian mother and Irish father, Terry was a very social person and never met a stranger. He was a fabulous chef who loved to create great food, and their home was often filled with friends and family. Their party celebrating the 25th anniversary of being together and Terry turning 50 filled their beautifully landscaped backyard with more than 140 family and friends. Terry worked for the last 5 years as executive director of the Volunteer Lawyer Program of Northeast Indiana, a cause for which he was very passionate. Over the years, he had worked with many people in our community, including Mayor Paul Helmke, the Fort Wayne Urban Enterprises Association, and as a realtor, Terry found the perfect homes for many of his friends in the historic neighborhoods he loved. He was also a founding member of the Southside Garden Club. The Fort Wayne theater community will miss our beloved Terry McCaffrey. Thanks for watching Arts Weekly.
Support for Arts Weekly is provided by PBS 39, the Hour Foundation, Martin Tierney, and the Community Foundation of Greater Fort Wayne.